it. And then what was the next one?
Troglodyte nigger.
Okay.
And hybrid.
Okay.
And take all the definitions, take all the denotative definitions, harmonic with its etymology, which you'll see structured in there, and put them together, and you will see very clearly that the hybrid Europeans who refer him to himself as an Englishman or Angloman will say, we Englishmen at best are but heterogeneous hybrids. We Englishmen at best are but heterogeneous hybrids. Now, one of the scientific terms given to the heterogeneous hybrid would be Paleolithic man, sometimes referred to as modern man, sometimes referred to by the German tribe naturalists like Mendelein. You can talk about Blumenbach, Linnaeus, etc. And they'll talk about the looking for the framework or the skeletons of the morphing or evolutionary development of hominidae becoming man out of the Pongidae species, etc. Or what they say, the monkey, etc. Darwin, etc. And people like him. And so people would think that the man evolved from the Pongidae Anthropopithecus, and they would be absent logically of those scientific experiments also took place at the plateaus in the Yucatan, not limited to there, dealing with hybriding, also dealing with plant life, not just human plant life. One of the ways that the hybrids in contemporary times would talk about the hybriding, they made a movie called, and look for this movie because it tells you a lot more than you would think that it would tell you. Because you look at it as fictional, but while the movie is fictional, it's telling you a lot of truths. Dr. Moreau's Island. Dr. Moreau's Island. Moreau means more in Germanic linguistic French, coming from Central Sudan and Nubia, which you would call Germanic, coming from Sanskrit. So when people look at Iberia and they look at German, the language, they think it's the hybrids language, when actually it comes from among the Picts and the Dubs, etc., from ancient Hikupta. These are some of your Naga tribes, Banti, etc. So understand that the hybrid knows that they're hybrid. Does not mean that hybrids are bad in the sense that, people keep saying, they keep looking at some of the issues among humanity and they start, saying these people are good and these people are bad type things. No, don't look at it that way. Look at it realistically for what it is. The hybrid Europeans, among the hybrid Europeans, many of them have maintained and cultivated their animalistic form, which is also why over the centuries, why many nations have always haven't been having a problem with some of the hybrids, because of some of them have still continued to display a very beastly nature of bloodletting, blood sucking, killing humans, doing cannibalism, etc., which continues to this day. And these are some of the problems that are actually plaguing us, that are coming out, that a lot of people, when they're looking at it, they're looking at it as something kind of new or really strange. And we're talking about some of this stuff because it's not new and it's not strange. It's strange. It's strange to the human. And then many of us kind of being uncomfortable because of the hybrids, mistreating our people, and they hide it under the subcategory of connotative linguistics known as the Linnaeus and the Blumenbach operations of taxidermy, and they'll call it racism and prejudice, etc., which is a cover up for a lot of the real truth about humanity and our condition. So when you're looking at what many of our Bantu tribes here at North America would refer to as the paleface, they were talking about the paleolith or the heterogeneous hybrid. And of course, you already know, we don't have to tell you that in these last couple hundred years, we've been having extreme problems with the hybrids. But we need to be honest, and we need to start looking at things as they really are and having some comprehension of really what's been going on, so that whatever decisions we make, whatever administrative operations we develop among ourselves, in relationship to others, etc., are based more on truths than on emotional responses and dogmatic, non-linear, not grounded, and not truthful concepts that have been taught under the anthropomorphic structures, some of which we ourselves have structured for teaching, because the customs of Africa have been to create metaphors or to tell stories in metaphor, to transfer information, etc., stuff like that, and to preserve. In another way, some of the methodologies that we use for maintaining customs and traditions and knowledge has been what you call mythology. And by some of these, what they would refer to, that is common when the Moors ruled, was known as the seven liberal arts, rhetoric, when you're talking about grammar, etc., these disciplines aren't taught now in school in the way they were, years ago. And so a lot of points of reference that people would use as a tool, etymologically, epistemology, etc., orthology, things that were common, just simply common parts of erudition that you would call education today, not being availed to the people. Sometimes when you go into some of these things, it appears to go past the people when it actually shouldn't, because it's actually elementary stuff. However, the hybrid European himself will tell you he's a hybrid. And this is, again, why they have problems with the sun. And so a lot of our people, when you see people talking today, like we were talking today, Dr. Naila, about the chemtrails, and they've been using the chemtrails to make the people sick, to continue their extermination programs, because they're attacking humanity more and more open now. They're not hiding it as much as they used to. However, people must understand that because of the hybriding, the nervous system of the heterogeneous hybrid is closer to the surface of the skin, or exposed to the UV rays of the sun, and it passes through the thin and the less pliable structure of the skin, which is logically the largest organ. And it does damage to the nervous system. Also, from a biological perspective of the physical body, why many of the heterogeneous hybrids, you will see their bodies start breaking down at an earlier age, and people wonder why they have leprosy more often. So the leprosy that would be caused in with many of the hybrids would be today called cancer, and their lesions would become white. And this is what's talked about in the Septuaginta in the Bible as the people who were taken behind the rock until their lesions were all right before they were accepted into society. These are some of the dynamics of really blending or integrating the hybrids into society, into different areas.
May I interject?
Mm.
How would you explain Genesis 1, I think it's 26,
25, 26.
26. So who is saying, let us make man, that scripture, how would you explain that, if at all, into the hybrid, since it says, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and then you get over to Genesis,
Yes.
chapter 2, and over there you've got man being formed out of the dust of the earth, and then you have Adam being put to sleep, and allegedly his rib being taken out, and a woman.
Now,
so is any,
that particular part is a metaphor, and this is where you're actually talking about star systems, and also because Eve, everything when you're looking at ancient African culture. As an example, when you're talking about Adam, you're talking about building blocks, or you're talking about scientific molecular structure. When you're talking about Eve, you're talking actually about evolution. Now, in a grammatical sense of preserving linguistic structure, that would be also from an etymological form platform, you would be talking about etymon structure. So whenever you're looking at African culture, you got to look at it multifacetedly, and you also have to study African culture. Or this is another reason why they spent so much time trying to destroy, so that they could take existing platforms and corrupt them, as an example. So when you're looking at any of your books that are in the Bible, as an example, when people look at Genesis, they're not thinking in general genetics, for one.
right?
They're looking at what they've been told merely means beginnings. Yeah. No, you're looking at genetics.
But are you not talking about, excuse me for cutting you off,
Yeah.
but are we not really talking about an interjection into life that already existed?
Now, this is another thing. So you can't create something that already exists. As an example, just like in the rule of science and the rule of social structure at Midgard, you can't patent something that's natural. True. If you get the point. Something that's created implies creating something out of not that which exists, as an example. So modification is not creation in that sense of the word. Now, the other deal of it is because remember how we've been telling people, particularly more in these last few years, because we already know certain things was going to come out, that everybody that's here is not necessarily from this planet.
True.
All right. Now, you know that the word God comes from gut, which comes from German, which comes from Sanskrit, what actually means good, and is a verb transitive, which you already know. It's not a being. You also know that the same principles of people coming from different areas of the solar systems to Midgard and to other places. From the fact of the matter is, from time that goes unmeasured. There is nothing that you will find on the planet at Midgard that will not demonstrate interdimensional or interstellar travel instruments and vehicles, etc., and all of the art, etc., and you can't put a date on it because you don't have a date on it. There's no time that you can remember when we weren't doing this stuff. What you have at Midgard is this history of a hominidae being suppressed, and then the promotion of the dogma systems of the priesthood, which sets time and date in the area of 6,000 years type thing. But this has more to do with preserving the rulership of the priesthood, etc., more than the fact. And not just that. So when you're talking, as an example, when you're talking about the ancient Sabians, right? Well, not ancient because it's really, they're here. They just don't know. Most of these people don't know their descendants. Um, when you talk about let us is plural, is it not?
It is plural.
When you talk about Elohim, people say Elohim. This is really a perfect example of what you call projection and misrepresentation and connotation. When you say Elohim, to most of our people, they say it means God, don't they?
Yes.
Now, Elohim is plural.
It is.
All right. So Elohim is us, isn't it? So there's a more than just a mere duality, isn't it? Isn't it? So when you see in the Bible when it says let us make man, you're actually talking about actually operative rulers and competing rulers or competing scientists. And you're talking both scientists, you're talking rulers, you're talking those who rule the high house, or what you call pharaohs, etc., who are actually subordinate or assigned, and actually you would call the matriarchies or monarchies that evolved into the monarchies and the operations of government here at Midgard. And some of the same structure principles are actually applicable elsewhere. And logically, it's sort of like speculative to get into some of these things when the people aren't aware of how Midgard operates, including the fact that most of the people don't even know that this particular Earth is Midgard. It's sort of like trying to get into reasonable conversations with people who don't even know the Earth, and you want to talk about another place. Like
so we're talking about multi-dimensional Earth,
both dimensional and geography.
No, what I'm saying, are we talking about throughout the universe, other Earths? Or are we talking about multi-dimensional?
It's
within
both.
the same. Okay.
It's both and all. Now the deal of it is because we've been so closed in at Midgard, there's the concept even that we're domed and have no access out. But the doming has more to do, if and not that it's never been used, with technology, advanced technology that most of the people at Midgard can't comprehend anyway. Do you understand? Because our minds have been suppressed. However, but because on another level, things are being opened up to the those who domicile here in general, because really what's happening, the things are collapsing, which we talk about on what you would call a basic casual level. The Piscean constructs are dissolving. The dimensional thought patterns that were cultivated in the Piscean energy is dissolving. These are not because of, say, you will or I will it to be, but because it is by the nature of things. And because so much electrical charge is happening on the planet now, particularly with the effects of Uranus, that these things can't stay stable anyway. And so what we have is this paradox of the priesthood having ruled for all these few hundred, last 1,000 years or more, with this corruption and corrupting the concepts of the people. They're trying to figure out what to do to maintain the stability of their de facto structures. And our people are trying to figure out how or who to vote for when this stuff is sort of like, this is so beyond the things that, that we have been used to, that the people really just have to prepare their minds for a lot. When you say reawakening minds, it's going to be kind of more real than people think it is on many levels. But my concern is really to try to talk about things that we can affect more currently, like more down to earth, more mundanely, and not to get outlandish. And I don't mean outlandish because it is outlandish in that sense. It's because trying to, argue with a child about riding a motorcycle when they have a tricycle with training wheels at that type thing. And it's not to disregard us, but it also is to project the truth of the matter is that we're going to have to advance. We got a lot of makeup to do, based on the artificial, not the real, the artificial suppression of humanity. Gates are going to be opened up. And so people are sometimes looking at things that they're not capable when they actually are. They actually are. It's just that it's going to be so uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I think these things have to be talked about more openly by people who kind of know some things and don't talk or talk around things, because when you talk honestly, you get attacked. And it's not so much